Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to the show. Here we are, live on Coffee Break with PCEB. Today, our special guest, all the way, you're streaming in from Kuala Lumpur, Mr. Fu Kei Cheong of Anderes Fourdy Events. How are you, Casey?
I'm fine, thank you.
It's great. Oh, let's get a sip of our coffee and get in the mood for the show today, yeah?
Okay, no problem.
I'm so happy to see you today, Casey, because we always get to meet up at least twice a year here in Penang when you come up and help us with the shows.
Yep.
And I haven't been able to see you since 2020. I don't think I saw you at all.
Yeah, I think probably it was at the Be at Penang, the virtual conference that was last hosted in Equatorial Penang.
That's right.
So I think that's probably the last time I met you. Yeah.
All
Quite a
right.
few months.
It's great to see you on the show here today.
Good to see you too. Yeah.
And I've been buzzing since we had the pre-show meeting, because I tell you, when you shared some of the things that you have in your mind to be presented on the show today, it really puts me up, it wakes me up, something exciting that all the viewers here today can look forward to.
Yeah. Hopefully we can have a good chat and see whether can bring some thoughts and ideas to the audience. Yeah.
That's right. So KC Fu, PCO, Professional Congress Organizer, also CMP, Certified Meeting Professional, yeah? So those are your credentials. And maybe you can tell the audience, those members of the audience who are not so familiar, about your role as a PCO, and also what being a CMP means.
Oh, okay. Basically, a PCO is actually a Professional Congress Organizer. We organize Congress on behalf of NGOs or associations, or even for corporates as well. So we are never the event's owner, but we actually organize and do all the legwork and also the planning. So CMP is basically a Certified Meetings Professional, is accreditation given by Events Industry Council that's based in US. So with this accreditation, you will be immediately recognized by people in industry that you actually know something about congresses. Yeah, basically it states that. Yeah.
Great. So as we talk about COVID-19 pandemic and how it's affected business events, we take our attention back all the way to March 2020. And now in a blink of an eye, it's already July 2021. Maybe you can take us through a little bit about the journey that Anderes Fourdy Events has gone through these 15 months.
Okay. So yeah, it is quite a difficult situation. The pandemic, I think, probably happened or probably was announced in early last year, and the lockdown was actually carried forth in March. So with that in mind, there are a lot of Congress that have postponed or actually delayed. So painfully, we immediately had a pay cut, in the organization. Everybody was had a pay cut. It was very difficult times, and by September, we reinstated back the salary to 100%. So how we did this was because of this the virtual platform that we actually rolled out, during the pandemic itself. So by year end last year, we actually gave away bonuses, and January this year we begin to start hiring, and also the first quarter itself we actually expanded into Singapore. So over the course of time, we picked up many projects along the way. So I think we are doing quite well in. I mean, I've got no complaints, but that's how our journey, throughout this past 1.5 years. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that's a bright spark in the business events industry to hear something that's positive and good news, actually.
Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom, but it's a matter of how you actually bite the bullet, recognize that it's not going away for quite a while, and changing the skill set, within the organization was very difficult. It was very difficult for within us, So, but nevertheless, all the team members, they know what is at stake, they believe in the organization, And here we are, we somewhere, we are not totally out of the dark, but at least we are still surviving with the support from our clients as well.
I see. So you mentioned just now you've expanded in Singapore. Is it something like mergers and acquisitions? You bought a company that was existing down south?
No, actually, we started this new company with one of the DMC based in Singapore. They're one of the biggest DMC based in Singapore. So they were quite actually affected with the pandemic, We spoke about, about the opportunities which is made available. And she seemed to be open about it. And, I just tossed in the idea, hey, maybe we also wanted to actually start something, across the causeway, and that actually matured into a lot of trainings and things like that. Then ultimately, when the chemistry is right, we decided to actually move on to actually establish a PCO over there.
That's amazing. That's a great story. Okay, once again, to all our guests who are just tuning in, we want to welcome you to this episode of Coffee Break with PCEB. And you can leave, of course, a comment, just say hi to Casey, hi to myself. And so we know you're watching on there. We will be acknowledging you later. And if you have a question for Casey, you can also type it into the comments and we'll be vetting through. We have got our PCEB staff at the back end going to check through and make sure that the suitable questions will be sent in to us. Yeah, so make sure you don't miss out on that. Okay, let's get into the actual meat of the show and the questions that have been set forth. Okay, the global landscape has changed enormously. We know that, yeah. And professionals in meeting industry now face pressing need to make tough decisions quickly, cancellations, postponements. So being a PCO, how have these new changes affected your business? And how do you meet financial obligations, minimize loss, and manage disruptions? And what are some of the major obstacles faced by a PCO like yourself?
Okay, very tough question, but I'll try my best to answer it. A lot of my PCO friends around the globe, not only in Malaysia, but overseas, whether it may be in Europe or in Asia or in the States, everyone is having a tough time, because a PCO who is used to actually organizing physical events might find it very difficult to actually stay above water. So it's true, because there are simply no events to actually to be a part of, to help organize, And when you actually take a look at the snippets, a lot of PCOs around the world have actually closed down their operations. And some of them have actually went on to, a suspended mode, which they are actually not operating at this moment in time. So the way I actually see it is that, this pandemic, this force have actually come in without anybody knowing it. We have no prior experience to, this sort of pandemic. Neither our parents or our grandparents have probably seen it, So it's something which is unpredictable at all. So the way I look at it is that a PCO needs to actually have a backup plan, I mean, there was a friend who was actually telling me, he asked me a question, when is a good time to actually plant a tree? And he was telling me it's 10 years ago. Yeah, I mean, we should have prepared like 10 years ago for it. But no one actually bought the ideas. So I believe that, if there's nothing to be done at a PCO level, you can actually pivot very quickly. You should actually just bite the bullet and move on to something which actually makes money, I mean, don't let it, don't have a wait and see attitude, with all the rhetorics like, be ready, it's going to open up soon. I mean, this pandemic is not going to go away for pretty long time. And the way I actually look at it is that, human nature, we need to actually suffer, a lot of breakdown, to actually have the sufficient will and ability to learn or pick up a new skill.
Yeah.
So if the PCO can't actually do any work right now, you don't have any revenue to come in, do something else, that actually makes sense to it, So that's the how I see the whole PCO services is going to be like, you know, it's either suspended or delayed. You know, everybody is trying to wait and see, but don't wait and see anymore. You know, just go out there, do something, get the revenue in. You just have to cut down whatever the cost that needs to be, and then you just focus on getting the revenue.
That's true. That's great. Very, very good feedback. Okay, we move on to the next section, and there's a question that says, what are the new expectations and requests by clients that you have been receiving during this new time, and how you repackage your offerings and also rethink your strategies now with COVID in view?
What I've actually done is that, you know, because Anderes Fourdy have two main business. One is actually a PCO business, and one is actually the IT business. You know, the IT, you know, is somewhat a different sort of business altogether, although we develop many software for the PCO. But we found a lot of synergy, you know, in creating a virtual platform. You know, right now, you know, everybody is going into this. Even those people which is outside from the business events industry is trying to go into this virtual platform.
Yes.
So what we did was that, you know, we took out, you know, what we have actually developed quite a number of years ago, and we actually make it current, and we actually commercialize it, you know. So the story was this, you know, one of the clients that we actually have and say that, oh, Casey, you know, we need to actually do something virtually, you know, it can be on Zoom and things like that, you know. Can we like have a virtual platform to actually do it? Then I was just thinking together with my fellow directors, and they were saying that, okay, you know, we can actually roll out this virtual platform. So Rahul has been doing this programming for quite a while for our previous clients. So we took it out, we revitalize it, and we make it relevant and current, you know, and we commercialize it to all our existing clients. And from our existing clients, they actually recommended our services to, you know, some of their fellow doctors, you know, or their fellow colleagues. So we get recommended by word of mouth. Okay, you know, these guys are doing a good job. They understand the PCO job. They also know, they also developed their own technology, and it actually went very well, you know. So by word of mouth, these have actually grown, right? So clients these days are actually, with or without the lockdown or the EMCO, you know, they are definitely coming onto the virtual platform already.
Yes.
So this virtual platform is also not particularly that easy to actually do, you know. Apart from the audiovisual suppliers and probably the virtual studios, you still need a platform to actually manage all these streaming, you know. And there's still a PCO job still behind it as well. Yeah,
that's right.
So clients has been asking for this.
So you're very fortunate that you are quite strong in the IT and technology.
I wouldn't say I'm strong, you know, but we were actually doing this part of it, you know.
That's right.
In a way, you know, probably it's the will of God. I wouldn't know. But the fact is that, you know, we have been lucky, you know, and I realized that we are lucky. There are not many lucky organizations out there. So my heart goes out to them, to be honest. Yeah.
All right. We have another question. How have the requests from clients changed, and what are they currently looking for in selecting a PCO or destination for future events?
I think I can probably relate one of the incident is that, you know, because clients these days, when I receive a request for proposal, these days when I receive such things, they would normally ask about a virtual platform, you know. They would actually ask about, you know, what are the possible opportunities if we think that we want to actually hold it on a hybrid basis. So they would want to actually have a proposal on a hybrid basis on a virtual platform to actually host the show as well, just in case, you know, the travel bubble has not been lifted. Yes. Even though we are talking about RFPs about 2-3 years ahead, you know, this has always been the question. I think the second part is actually the risk management as well. So if you are good at actually risk management, you know, you can actually develop a lot of good advice the local practices and the best practices from overseas. You can actually merge them and actually give particularly good advice on how to actually manage that particular risk. So PCO, you begin to actually see their usefulness when they actually plan, for risk management, whether you choose to mitigate them or you choose to transfer this sort of risk. That's the difference, between before the pandemic and after the pandemic.
So are you still getting requests for physical destination, like from overseas want to come to Kuala Lumpur or Penang for their conference?
Yeah, I do. So because I don't see this face-to-face meeting going away too soon. I mean, they human are social animals.
Yes.
So they need to actually engage, be recognized, have fun.
Yes.
We still need that sort of interaction. So yes, we have been receiving RFPs going into Penang or going to other parts of Malaysia as well.
That's excellent. That's good news. All right. Okay, we have congratulations in order for AFE. It says here that you have officially bid and secured the Asia Pacific Hernia Society 2023, and it will be held in Penang. That's great news.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much.
So what are you going to do to prepare 2023? Years down the road, what are you working on now for the event?
We had a chat with the local organizing committee. This group of doctors are pretty close to us. We have not actually planned out anything at this moment in time because it's way too early to actually look into the planning at this moment in time. So what we have actually done is just to prepare a skeletal program, trying to identify the venue in Penang, maybe a convention center, maybe a hotel. I think that's what we are at the forefront at this moment in time, because they can't see really that far, because until the travel is actually the travel bubble has been lifted, so then they will actually we will actually plan and have more details about it, but there are certainly a lot of plans, and you inject a lot of income to the economy of Penang. That's how we see it.
So now it's basically teaser marketing for the meantime, yeah?
Teaser marketing, skeletal programs, planning some key plenary speakers, those are the main things.
Excellent, that's great news. That's great news for us.
Yep.
All right. And how would you overcome the uncertainty, pros and cons, if it were to be changed into a hybrid event? Let's say if it still has to be run as a hybrid.
The pro and cons is, I think earlier last year we did a study, on the number of congresses that we actually do. So we did actual scenario based on an event which is to be run physically 100%, virtually 100%, and also a hybrid, 50-50. So from the economic point of view, or probably the financial point of view, the hybrid model is actually the most cost ineffective, because because the reason is that you need to actually rent the physical space, and you also need to actually pay for the virtual platform, so instead of one venue, now you are paying for two venues,
That's
the
right.
virtual platform and also the physical venue itself. You are not paying anything less, to your suppliers. In fact, you're actually getting more suppliers on board, right?
Yes.
So in a way, the hybrid, when it comes to a financial standpoint, is probably the most cost ineffective. The most cost effective one, of course, is actually the virtual platform. You don't actually have to pay for traveling costs, air tickets, or even hotels for people to actually come in. But it doesn't give value to the local economy.
That's
as
right.
composed, as opposed to what you have when people are flying in, enjoying the trappings of Penang, staying in the hotel and flying into Penang airport as well. So So the way we actually look at it, hybrid is the most expensive one when it comes to cost. But nevertheless, people still want to actually go for hybrid, with the hope that, once the bubble is actually lifted, people can actually have that hybrid itself.
I see. That's very interesting. Okay. And right now, are you still constantly in touch and collaborating with the convention bureaus, government agencies, taking part in trade shows and so forth?
Yes and no. Yes, we are actually in constant touch with the convention bureaus, whether it's with Penang Convention Bureau or the Malaysian Convention Bureau. We are in close contact. We speak probably like once every fortnight, just to share information or probably gossip or just having a talk, right?
Maintaining the relationships, basically.
I wouldn't say maintaining the relationship. I mean, we are friends, we probably have questions on work or probably family, or for something else. We do keep in touch on all these things. On top of that, we share a common interest, which is the industry itself. So, but I don't think we are actually speaking to, attending any trade shows. Because we feel that, attending any trade shows at this moment in time might not yield a very good result. So therefore, we have actually refrained from doing so. Because this trade show, is going, once the bubble open up, I think there will be a request for this sort of trade shows. But trade shows at this moment in time, we try not to participate, one thing is the cost. The second part, is we also kept busy delivering our projects as well.
Interesting. Okay, and then are you still pitching for events, preparing your proposals, and also how many years ahead are you marketing into or proposing?
I am currently looking at 2024. Which is 3 years from now. That's the earliest that I'm bidding for. And the latest that I'm bidding for is 2029, so it's quite a few years ahead.
This is
but
a very
we are getting those
long-term business, actually. This is a long game.
Yeah, I mean, you won't get the revenue immediately, but at least you try for it, So we have entered into bids with the PCEB. We have entered into bids with the other convention bureaus, the National Convention Bureau.
Yes, my son. Wonderful, that's great. Okay. What kind of new opportunities have opened up, if any, during this quiet time? And are you working well with the virtual hybrid work model, smaller events, and enhancing the ability to bring added attention to detail in corporate events?
Yeah, I mean, this opportunity, I mean, this pandemic have actually brought us to certain markets where we traditionally have ignored or probably have no presence over there. So one of the markets that we actually went in, it was a request, from a corporate, So because every year, a listed company in Malaysia needs to actually have their AGM, or any parts of the world, a listed company needs to have their AGM, and they can't do it physically. So they need to actually have a virtual platform to actually meet up with the shareholders, take their questions,
That's right,
do a polling, or probably pass a resolution, So that's important. So because our product, we can actually track all the metrics pretty well. We can actually see, whether they are a bona fide shareholder to actually come in and things like that. So we are able to fit into that particular model as well. So this came unexpectedly. And of course, we have other PCOs from overseas. They have started talking to us about a collaboration, bringing Anderes Fourdy, the brand name, to their country.
Oh,
yeah. So
like franchising.
I'm not too sure what model that we are going to talk about, you know, because things are still pretty fluid at this moment in time. But we are still talking about it, you know, so I'm not too sure whether it will be as fast as Singapore, but hopefully, you know, we'll get something done over a period of time, you know, because I think these days, you know, we must really open our minds, our hearts, you know, and for those people who actually have their own company to open their own wallets as well. I mean, invest into something, you know, that you can actually ride on. Because these times are very different, you know, it cannot be rhetoric based. You really need to actually do something about it. Because the moment you actually delay doing something about it, we wait and see lah, you know, oh, I'm not so sure lah, you know, oh, it's very difficult job lah, you know, we might not be able to do it lah. I think it's very difficult lah. I think if you have that kind of mentality, you just have to break that, you know. It is not a Socrates methodology, you know, that you have to question everything that you do, you know. So sometimes, you know, in this pandemic situation, you know, you cannot question yourself. You cannot be solved by logical reasoning, you know. Even if you want to go for the Socrates method to actually do the logical reasoning and things like that, give yourself like probably 2 days to think about it, and you just come up with the answer yes or no. Then you put your commitment in, you put all your resources in, whether it's time, your effort, or probably investment, and just go for it.
True. I think a lot of people got caught in what you said. It won't last, you know. It's going to open up very soon. As I said, we blink our eyes. It's now 15 months already, you know. So and the style that Malaysia did it, open close. It made the industry people more confused, basically.
Yeah. I think if you can actually see in the local media right now, you know, everyone in Malaysia is actually suffering. You know, they raise those flags, you know, white flag, black flag, or whatever flag. So the thing is that Malaysians are really suffering, you know. I mean, they really have problems, you know, thinking about, you know, when is my next meal is going to come. So if you don't bring yourself to that particular stage, you know, I think your mindset will still be like, okay, you know, tomorrow will be better and stuff like that. But you can't anymore, you know. So you have to really do something drastic now. And if you keep on doing the same thing, you know, wait and see, or probably doing the same thing that you're doing, you can't expect a different results, you know, or better results. You know, you have to really do something different, and don't give your time too much, you know, to think about it.
You mentioned a word the other day that I want to bring up now: survivability.
Yeah. So yeah, we had that conversation. So I think the key issue previously, before the pandemic, you know, we talked about the sustainability of the company, the sustainability of your career and things like that. So nobody talks about that anymore. You know, nobody talks about the sustainability of your career, sustainability of your organization and things like that. So the S is actually replaced by survivability, right? How are you going to survive through it? You know, if you don't hit the panic button, if you don't do anything now, you know, you don't do anything now, you're not going to survive. So forget about sustainability. Right now is really a matter of survival, right? So if you don't have the sense of urgency to actually act on it, right? I think you'll be at the same state where you are. So they are a certain part of my team members, you know, when the early days of the pandemic, they could not see that, you know, they said, okay, after a few months, things will be better. I said, no, you really have to, like, you know, dig deep right now already. You cannot do anything about that. So if you can't do anything externally, do something internally. It can be overcome by yourself. The thing that is actually holding you back is actually your mental thoughts, you know. But I do understand it's not that easy, you know. Self-motivation, you know, is something very, very difficult, you know. I mean, you can tell me, Casey, you know, words are easy lah and things like that. Yeah, it wasn't easy for me, but you know, if I put food on the table, it means something right now, So
It's 4 o'clock.
that's how I actually see it.
That's great. And you mentioned also another couple of words, reskilling.
Yes. So it was a very difficult times for us, when we actually moved from a full-time PCO to actually a virtual platform plus a PCO. So it was a difficult time because, humans have this reluctance to learn, right? So the reskilling part, on the team members, it was very difficult, It took us, probably some formal training through Zoom and things like that to actually get those things in order. So when we actually have projects, we started to operate and things like that. So reskilling is something that is done on a meaningful and a purposeful basis, I mean, you don't do reskilling for the sake of that you want to train him to do something else. You want to reskill him because you want to survive. You want to actually get the revenue to come in for yourself and also for the organization. That's how I actually see it, right? So reskilling is part of the thing, So, what they say about learn, relearn, unlearn, and, reskill, whatnot. I mean, that really holds true, If you don't do any reskilling on your part, you're not going to gain any skill. And you have to actually learn the hard way. Start from the bottom, I mean, even though however senior you are, you really have to start from the bottom up. No? It's a very difficult learning curve.
Very true. We're going to go to the live feed and take a look at how many people are here and say hi to some of our viewers. Yeah. So let's see who is here. On PCEB's Facebook page. There we go. Rahul is here. Hey, Rahul, how are you? John Chaco, Sugin Dhiran is here. Hi, Sugin. Jessica Ko, welcome to the show. And Michelle Coy and Grace Min are here as well. We're going to take a look whether we have some questions. Let's see if Machen has sent in a question for us. Okay. Appreciate some tips from you, Casey, on risk mitigation, especially during these unprecedented times. Risk mitigation. How
risk mitigation in terms of events or for the organization?
She has not mentioned. So
okay.
I think for the event, probably.
Probably for the event. I think risk mitigation is actually, you really have to think in advance, for your clients, because you have to put yourself into their shoes now. You really have to feel for them, think for them, and action for them as well. Because the clients actually is quite dependent on the PCO to actually do the risk mitigation. So risk mitigation is actually one of the ways that we manage the risk. You can actually transfer the risk, or you can actually pass over that particular risk as well. You must be able to actually look into, because a lot of risk right now is externally, is actually not caused by you, your clients, the speakers, or the sponsors. It's actually caused externally, And external risk is one of the risks that we can't control. Because the pandemic is something, you ask the crystal ball will break itself, because the crystal ball wouldn't be able to tell you when the pandemic is going to end.
Yes.
So needless to say, if you were to actually mitigate the risk by passing the risk to insurance companies and things like that, I don't think the insurance company will actually give you a policy without charging you extremely on a very high basis.
Yes.
So the way to actually go about into risk management is that you have to actually plan all those scenarios. What happens if the lockdown is still here? What happens if travel can't actually proceed? What happens if the travel is allowed, but the quarantine period of 14 days stays, So you have to actually take a look at all these scenarios. And after that, you have to go through each functionality. How will it affect you functionally, financially? How will it affect you operationally? How will it affect your credibility? You have to actually go through all the certain features when you actually do risk management. That's how I actually see it. I mean, it's a brainstorming session, but it's a guided thing. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, yes. Also to look into detail of all the possibilities, different scenarios, and the action plan. If this happens, what do we do? If this happens, what do we do? Something like that.
Correct.
Okay, we've got one more question. When do you think we can have a World Congress again in Malaysia? And will we reach herd immunity by 2022? Okay, it's a medical question. I don't know if Casey is able to answer that, but we can say our hopes. Basically.
Yeah. I think under the National Recovery Program, phase 4, which is a recovery period where things can be opened up, is supposedly to be planned to be opened up in November, right? So, but I guess those people who have been actually following the news, we had a sort of a delay, probably like 2 or 3 weeks, sort of a delay. And I think, when we reach herd immunity, depends, in Malaysian terms, is 80%, right? According to the National Recovery Program. So I would dare probably say, maybe hopefully middle of next year, that's how I actually can see it. But we also quite lucky to get a national, you talk about World Congress, right? That's not a World Congress.
Yeah.
So we have signed up with the International Society of Nephrology to actually have their Congress in February next year in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. So whether it's a hybrid model or a fully virtual model, it remains to be seen. But the event is definitely going on, right? It's just a matter of whether it will be hybrid or it'll just be a virtual, So things are still going on, right? Yes. So despite the travel ban and also, the vaccination rates as well. Yeah.
And Malaysia is still in the game.
Yeah, Malaysia is still very much in the game. Very much in the game.
So, Casey, thank you so much for your time. We're coming to the end of the show. 1 minute for you to just sum up everything we've said today and your vision, your goal, your hopes for the days ahead. Give us something.
Not really sure, but my best advice, for those people who is actually in the business events industry is to collaborate. Make it a point that you don't only talk, but really work on it. Walk the first mile, walk the first mile. Let's see what turns up it to be, because no man is an island. You really have to collaborate. It's just not a talk shop, Just don't talk about it, but just go ahead and collaborate. So you can even collaborate, even if you're a competitor or a fellow industry colleague, it could be from the different industry. Just go ahead and collaborate, because you never know what is going to come to you. But I believe that, if you really open your eyes, your heart, and be approachable by anybody, and be humble, I think you can actually work wonders now. So right now, the key difference is that no more wait and see, just work on it, be humble, learn from the bottom up. If previously you can earn 1 ringgit, now you can earn 10 cents. Also, you try to actually make that happen as well. So I hope that this is my 2 cents, not necessarily true, but these are my 2 cents.
Thank you so much, Casey. Thank you so much for your time to be on the show. Coffee Break with PCEB will be back with us next Tuesday, 3:30 p.m. Our guests on that show will be Mr. Philip, CEO of Firefly. Okay, we're going to talk about the flights that are going to come into Penang, new connectivity to cities all around Malaysia. So please do tune in for that show. See you then. Thank you so much, Casey. Take care. See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.